So this is the first video we're going to have on circles. Circles section 1 roughly follows 10.1 and 10.2 in that textbook that I gave you at the beginning of the year. So we have a lot of definitions here. You might have grabbed the graphic organizer today from class. Even if you didn't, you should copy all of these down. So you might want to go ahead and hit pause. So just to review some of these, you should copy down this diagram either on your graphic organizer or in your notes. So starting from the top of this diagram, working our way down, we have an example of a tangent line here. So if you look for where you wrote tangent, you could write the example IJ. It's tangent because it only touches at one point. This is a chord. It's a segment. It has its endpoints on the circle. This is also a chord, but since it passes through the center, which is A, CD is our diameter. AB is a radius, goes from the center to a point on the circle. And then GH is a line, it goes on forever, and it passes through the circle, intersects at 2 points, so therefore it's our secant. So we have a tangent, chord, diameter, radius, secant. This is our center. So this would be called circle A. The next thing we need to know about circles is that we can talk about portions of the circumference or portions of the circle itself as opposed to the space inside. So these are arcs. We have a minor arc here, which is less than half of the circle. You should write this down in these two examples. We have a major arc, which is more than half the circle. So I want to just talk briefly about how we would name these, because they have their own symbols and everything like that. So this minor arc up here, I'm going to name its endpoints, then I'm going to put this little rainbow on top so I know that it's an arc, not a segment or a line or anything. A major arc, I want you to add something to your diagram, because for a major arc, I haven't used letter F yet, I would need 3 letters to label a major arc. Because if I just say AB again, you would be confused. Did I mean to go the short way or did I mean to go the long way? So if I use 3 letters, then I could say we have arc AFB, and we trace them in order. And anytime you name points that create an arc, those points should be on the outside. So I would never use point C to name an arc in this circle. The last one we have is a semicircle, which is exactly half. A semicircle has its endpoints on the diameter. A semicircle should also be labeled with 3 points. So I'll just put G over here. So this would be semicircle DGE. That third point helps us know whether or not we're going on this side of the circle, or perhaps we were supposed to go on this side. Helps us be a little bit more specific. So just like angles, we can talk about the measure of an arc. In order to talk about the measure of an arc, we have to know a couple of things. We need to know the measure of the central angle, and we need to know what this word intercepts means. So central angle is an angle whose vertex is at the center of a circle. Hopefully that makes sense to you. This one has a name. That one's called an inscribed angle, and we'll talk about that later. This is the central angle here. It's got its vertex at the center. And when I say intercepted arc, we mean, if I kind of extend those rays, we're talking about the arc that lies between the 2 rays. So obviously I could wish to talk about this major arc here, and in that case I would need to have a letter over here to make sure I'm naming the major arc, not the minor arc. So one thing that we know here is that it's the measure of the arc is the same as the measure of the central angle. So let's look at an example of that. So this example here, we can talk about a couple different measurements. The first one, I can talk about the measure, put that M there so we know we're talking about a number of arc JI, which is here, equals 70 degrees. The mark of arc KJ is also 70 degrees. So just like segments and angles, we can add arcs together. So I could find the measure of, let's say, KI. I don't need to label J in the middle because it's a minor arc. I only need 2 letters. And KI would be 140. I could also find the measure of HK, and I have to make a small assumption here. I'll try to be clear about this. Usually if it appears to be a diameter, meaning it looks like a straight line that passes through the center, we can just go ahead and assume it's a diameter. So I know that HK, being half a circle, is 180. And so if this much here is 180 and this much here is 140, that means I should be able to figure out this piece here, 180 minus 140, and that'll give me 40 degrees here. So the measure of HI is 140. So from there, I would know, I could do the same process again to find this side, we have 180, this piece was 140, so this is 40, but we also have vertical angles, so I can even say that the measure of arc LK is also 40 degrees. So we can know even this last piece over here, the measure of arc HL, because it would be vertical to our 140 over here. We could also subtract everything we know from 360. And from there I could do any combination. I could do KJ, I could do KI, I could do JL. I could figure out all sorts of things because I know each one of these pieces now. So basically, we've talked about 2 things. We've talked about some of the names in a circle. You just need to be familiar with those. Be prepared to see vocab type questions when we get our next quiz. And you need to be able to find the measures of arcs. When we do these in class, we're going to start putting a little bit of algebra. So you need to, if you don't understand the process behind it, you're not going to understand it when it has algebra. So come in ready to ask some questions. Make sure you've summarized your notes. And, if you have any questions, make sure you mark them on your notes big so I can see them, or ask them at the beginning of class, write them up on the chalkboard, something like that.